other thing I want to talk about is actually some metaphors that I like to use with patients who have been in pain for a long period of time. And one of the metaphors that I like to use is a clenched fist metaphor. Okay, so I want you to try to make a fist, okay? And I want you to try to move your wrist, really squeezing as hard as you can. Feel how that feels. Take a moment. And now I want you to do the same thing, but have a nice loose wrist and kind of just move your wrist back and forth, okay? Which movement feels easier? So, I mean, likely you would have probably said the one where your wrist is relaxed, right? Because you're able to get more range of motion, you're more free, you're moving more relaxed, there's more fluidity. And sometimes that can actually be a good metaphor, or it is a good metaphor to somebody who has back pain for a long period of time. So when you move or when you do specific position, unconsciously your body kind of goes into this guarding position, right? So all the muscles, let's say, again, we'll use the low back pain example. All the muscles around your back tense up, the ligaments, the joint capsule, the tendons, everything kind of stiffens up, right? So when you move and do something, your body and your brain tells you the message that, you know, this is going to cause you pain, so let's protect the body, right? And so by protecting the body, what happens is all these muscles squeeze and they tense, and then you try to move and then you feel pain, and it just feeds into that cycle. So it's almost like you're moving with that clenched fist metaphor. When you're moving, right, if all the muscles are turning on, then you're irritating some of the structures that are around there. You're having more tension around the muscles. There's more protection, right, because this movement is a threat, right? Remember what we talked about. Pain is a response to an actual or to a perceived threat. So if your body thinks that when you bend down and pick something up, it's going to cause you pain, it's going to treat it as a threat. Now the problem with that is every time you do that movement, right, if your muscles are toned, you're turning on your core muscles, you know, try to get everything nice and tight around to protect you, you're not doing yourself any favors, because you're just feeding into the problem. So the goal is to try to get people to, you know, to release some of the tension in the muscles and try to not go into that fearful, you know, guarded movement patterns. You know, I can say that before you had any pain, it is likely that you weren't thinking about all these things before you were bending down and picking something up or doing certain movements or reaching if you have shoulder pain. But now, because you're in pain, then everything is kind of on the watch, right? Your brain is watching everything and it's saying, okay, careful, don't do this, don't do that. So when you can relax some of the muscles around the area, and when you're not as worried or fearful about the movement by practicing the movement in a more controlled manner, then the body naturally decreases how much threat it's believing that movement is causing.